Hello and welcome back to the Quiet Part Podcast. My name is Chris. How's everybody doing? Second day of doing this, and it's about as good as the first. Joining me, as you will usually see, is of course Michael. Say hello, Michael.
Hello, folks.
Again, this is just our version of the what do I want to call it? The pre-show for the Timcast Discord that we've decided to take live. I don't think YouTube appreciates us calling it what we called it there, but just suffice to say, it is still that show. Got a few things to talk about today, so we'll get down to that. First off, if you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe. Helps the algorithm, helps us out. Lets us know that you want to see more of this. You want to follow us? I haven't got the banners working on StreamYard yet, but at Real Chris Noski on X. Michael, where could we find you?
Michael Leo TS. Yeah.
Michael Leo timestamp. Gotcha.
That's right. Some have said it stands for transsexual. I digress. It's not what it means, guys. It's actually whatever you want it to be. Honestly, I thought it would be funny, like thought savant, right?
Hey, but we all know you had bottom surgery a couple months ago. It's okay.
I know.
Oh, how was your Tuesday?
It was good. Did my interview. Think it went well. Might be overqualified. And yeah, did some more job searching. That's kind of what I've been doing every day, and some video games. Nice Path of Exile sessions.
Oh, how's that going?
Good.
I've been playing Black Ops 6. Kind of fun. I don't like the multiplayer aspect of the first-person shooter games, just because people suck. But for myself, just the campaigns, I enjoy those. And most of them, I can kind of do them 100% stealth with only just a minor thing going wrong that, shows that is not happening. But, good, clean fun. Otherwise, it's a Tuesday. Gonna have some tacos later.
Hell yeah. I got leftover tacos in the fridge. We made 3 pounds of ground beef this weekend. So
only 3?
Yeah, surprisingly, we still got quite a bit. We estimate about 4 tacos left. Cilantro is still good. Lime's still good. Red pepper still good.
The cilantro, go with the pico. You do that a day before, and it's gonna be the best pico you've ever had. So that's how I do it. So what do you say we start talking about some news?
Let's get into it.
It's a big day for it too. All right, here we go. New warning for LA. Winds to increase as new wildfire starts. Damage total is exceeding $250 billion. Yeah, I said billion.
Yep. I said, yeah.
And it's not even close to being done.
Nope. They're expecting it to get worse throughout the week with more winds. Now, Chris, might I ask, how is it that people are predicting that these winds could result in catastrophic fire?
Well, it's because the Santa Ana winds are a regularly occurring event that happens around this time every year. It's part of their what would typically be rain season.
Interesting. So you're telling me that a regularly occurring phenomenon that's been happening for a very long time is now happening again. And people could, as a result, foresee that there was a much higher risk of fire. As we know, and is pointed out in this particular segment, advance warning of.
Yeah. Now it gets interesting when you start breaking it down like that, because as Tim talks about, couldn't some of these people, let's say had a pool, set up a pump to spray water on their house at regular intervals, prevent it from, catching fire. And I like where his head's at with that, but I think that doesn't exactly work the way he would hope it would. Because with fires like this, they move so fast and they are so hot, they end up evaporating that water pretty quickly, and you'll still be engulfed in flames. So that is a downside of that, but I like where his head's at there. If only there was something that could have been done in that similar fashion, maybe having a reservoir that like 111 million gallons of water, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Not completely drained for maintenance that they drained a whole year ago, mind you. To do maintenance. I was reading the timeline of events on this. They drained it a year ago. They took bids for 6 months for contractors to patch up this routine maintenance, is what it was. Which, if it's routine maintenance, why are you taking bids from contractors? Don't you have this capability in house?
Right.
Seriously. So they took the bids for 6 months. Then they selected their bid. That took another 2 months, and they were scheduled to start the repairs in February of this year.
At any rate, all things considered, the left has fallen into it's not a designed trap, so to speak, but it is a trap of their own creation, where you're a conspiracy theorist if you believe that arsonists are responsible for any of these fires, which they are. And then to suggest that it's climate change is then also moot, because we know that this particular weather phenomenon, which is the Santa Ana winds, is a reoccurring thing that happens every single year, so much so that the local authorities and state government put out an advanced warning that these winds would be coming and to be mindful, because the increase in risk of fire is far greater during these winds. On the same side of that coin, it kind of takes away just a teeny bit of the argument that we had yesterday about just complete negligence, because they at least gave forewarning, right? But that warning is irrelevant if you don't have the infrastructure in place to actually facilitate action when it matters. And they didn't, and they don't. So back to the drawing board. I'm not sitting here. I'm not going to point fingers. I'm not going to say someone's bad or evil or whatever because they failed to do something. But the reality is that in order to prevent this from happening again, to be entirely frank, Chris, what matters most to me is the fact that Joe Biden said that 100% of everything is going to be covered by the federal government, which means at this point, $200+ billion of our tax dollars going to help a crisis that could have, been mitigated to a great deal had the local government and the state government done their part to be a bit more proactive in their measures to prevent fires. When you consider that fires happen all the time, it just seems like a reasonable thing.
So I had a question yesterday whether or not, we're going to give the individuals money, or if it was just that 250 billion currently was just for like the city infrastructure and whatnot. So I saw yesterday Joe had said $770 are going to individuals. You just got to go to sign up for it. So hey, more
dollars.
Congratulations, guys! You're getting $770. And last time I checked, and correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, California is not a cheap place to live.
No, it's not.
I mean, $770, a one-time, mind you, one-time payment is going to get you a bottle of water.
Well, it'll get you more than that, to be fair. It'll get you the bare essentials, but here's what it's not going to get you, right? This is a part of the conversation no one's having. $770 in California is not going to get them their luxurious lifestyle. It's going to get them the bare minimum they need to survive and accommodate themselves while they figure out the situation. $770 in California is not going to be their luxurious dinners and their homegrown organic fucking soybean, wheat, whatever vile vegetarian meat platters that they eat and shit. It's not going to afford that. It's going to afford water. It's going to afford food. probably not healthy food, unfortunately. Much like me during this last hurricane, Milton, I went and I fucking ordered 24 cans of SpaghettiOs because they'll keep. And if I'm out of power for 2 weeks, it's easy. I can eat it and I won't die. Right? I can worry about fitness later.
You can either start a fire and heat the can up over the fire or just eat it raw.
Right. So you make sacrifices in dire times. That is just the reality of life. Our ancestors, all the way back to the fucking Neanderthals, pardon my language, all the way back to the Neanderthals, had to make significant sacrifice to further civilization and society and to get through hard times. That's just a fact of life. So Californians are going to have, they're being forced into this reality. And if it's, I mean, I don't think anything has to be done. I think I've said this for quite some time, Chris, over the last few months. It's like it's going to take real hardship for these radical leftists to start to come to terms with reality, which is something that they're completely detached from. And it's unfortunate and it's sad that it has to be a fire in this particular circumstance in LA. But I think that a lot of people are going to have their eyes open to the corruption that exists within the Democratic Party and their local leaders. They're going to have their eyes open to all the bullshit and struggles that come with all the regulations that they place with respect to construction and all the DEI and environmental climate change agenda policies that they enact. They're going to be living this over the next, I would say, 6 months, coming to terms in reality with the fact that these things are not good. They set the country back. They increase costs on everything that exists, from toilet paper to the beer that you buy. And hopefully it changes some minds and they become more aware of where the country's really at and start voting correctly. Correctly is the wrong word. I apologize. Voting appropriately.
Well, I mean, so first off, I'm going to interrupt and say, Shane, thank you very much. It is very welcome that you do that. We're not asking that you do, but if you want to, awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shane. And what is
he told us not to shut up. So, you know, I think we're going to take his advice and keep going.
That's an easy
Michael,
one.
I mean, it's not just, you know, that they're voting inappropriately. It's not all that. Remember, LA County is home to some 14 million people, and we're talking large percentages of that population are being displaced right now. Okay, they are being displaced. It's not so much that, okay, here's your what am I to call it, $700, and you know, go stay somewhere else. I mean, you might get to the state line, you might get a little bit further than that, but you're still not. The average person probably doesn't have savings built up enough to be able to withstand this period.
No.
You know, the super wealthy, I mean, they can leave the country, they can go do whatever. They probably have another house somewhere else. You know, they're the people I'm less concerned about. But when you are sitting there saying, hey, here's $700, there's your basic necessities, you voted for this, congratulations, that's what gets you the extra $30 over everyone else, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're allowing your state government to keep doing this time after time. As we said, these wildfires aren't new. The winds aren't new. They keep happening. They just don't typically affect this much of the infrastructure when that happens.
Yeah.
Well, where are these people going to go?
They're going to end up moving, Chris. I don't see. So there's a couple things. I just double checked to make sure that I'm correct on this. But California is the same way that Florida is, right? When we got Hurricane Ian a few years ago, I was down in Florida during it. And the aftermath was catastrophic, as we all know. But it was maybe 6 months later to a year later that its real effects started taking place. In Florida, much like California, if you own your home, you're not required by law to have home insurance. You don't have to have home insurance. Now, this is irrespective from the reality that insurance companies stopped covering homes literally a week before the fire started. But if you owned your home outright, you don't have to legally have home insurance at all. You're not required by law to have it. And even then, some insurance companies or some in the state of California, like even if you don't own the home outright, you still don't have to have home insurance. Where it starts getting gritty is like, oh, well, if you're paying a mortgage, whoever you're paying your mortgage to might require that you have insurance because it's technically their asset until you pay the home off. That adds to this, right? Because there's a lot of people that lost their homes that are not going to be able to replace it with respect to insurance claims and having insurance basically cover the cost. That means that these people are, if they don't have the funds, they're moving, they're leaving. This fire isn't going to change the cost of living in California, at least not immediately. And they're not going to be able to find a new place nearby. They're going to have to move to a different state. So the great migration that we've been experiencing over the last few years,
it's only going to get worse.
It's only going to get worse. And the Californians are coming to a town near you, I would suspect.
Well, I hope you get that job that you interviewed for quickly, because there might be somebody who's willing to do it for less who needs it right now. I mean, this is the reality we live in right now, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to move on to the next segment. I'm going to give it a couple minutes pause so that way, I have a cutting point. Guys, thank you for tuning in. I mean, this is segment number 2. Adam Carolla roasts leftists who cheer looting as LA Fire brings it to them. The National Guard is deployed. I want to point out, for anyone who doesn't realize this, yes, the National Guard is being deployed to help fight the fire in some respects. They are primarily being deployed, however, to stop looting and whatnot. Because as we know, many of the people being caught, starting these fires, the arsonists, they're doing it to get people to clear out so that way gangs can come in and loot, riot, do that sort of thing, all while you're evacuating. They're trying to force this, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the National Guard is primarily there to do. Say, hey, you're not doing that shit on our watch, but it's only a couple thousand troops. They're not going to be able to watch that entire city.
No. And so I have experience with this. California's laws make it far more difficult to combat looting because in Florida, after Ian, the sheriff did this big announcement. It was on the TV. It was on the radio. It was published everywhere. He said, every single citizen that has been affected by Hurricane Ian has every right to basically kapow anyone that comes onto your property to try to loot after the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. I'm just saying, because these people, they're not looting homes that were burned down. They're looting the homes that were like those single home that just happened to not get burned down around all the other ones that got burned down. They're looting that one.
Of course,
and some people and good citizens who are going to obey their officials, they're evacuating, which means they're not there to protect their belongings. And
what's that saying go, Michael? An armed society is a polite society.
That's correct. Yes.
And right. It's comments like that prove why you need to be armed. It proves why these people being forced out because of this evacuation need to be worried about their stuff. I'm not saying stick around and guard your stuff. Well, if you're in danger, if you're in the path of this thing, get the hell out.
I feel like this is a good time to just, preface that it is a very wise and intelligent and responsible idea and decision to make, that you take every single personal document, like your birth certificate, social security card, passport, any legal documents, maybe your last year's worth of tax information, all of that, put it in an envelope, put it inside a Ziploc baggie, put it in a secure container where it won't get wet in the rain. And anything of extreme value, keep it in a special dedicated place that's locked up in your home. And if you do have to bug out, it's easy to grab, you know where it's at, and you can take it with you. Because you can replace your sofa, you can replace your TV, you can't replace your life, and it is way more difficult to replace all those other documents that I just described.
It's also expensive to replace those documents.
Well, yeah, it is. Yep. I mean, me just trying to get my car title, it's like a month now, and $21, and everything has to be done through the mail. It's just retarded.
Oh, are you keeping it titled in Florida?
No. It got lost in the mail when it was shipped out to me, and so now I have to acquire it again.
Gotta love the mail.
Yep.
I'm glad we have it. I just wish it was better at times. That's all. Now, we mentioned this, I believe it was last week. Adam Carolla was in front of Congress. He was talking about his experience, trying to become a firefighter in LA. Were you here for that part of the conversation, or was that Friday? I don't remember.
We talked a little bit about it yesterday, I think, and then
okay.
He's been on about it on his own personal show. So
yeah. And if you haven't heard this story, it's great. We know the DEI hiring practices. We know this is a thing, and it's been a thing for a very long time, mind you, not just in this woke culture. It has been 30 years since Adam Carolla wanted to be a firefighter. Okay. He tells the story about his privilege in being, a white male in this country wanting to be a firefighter. He signed up. He wanted to go through the training, and they said, no, you got to wait 7 years, 7-year waiting list. Finally gets the call at his parents' house. He went on with his life. He became, a construction worker, did the hard work, the stuff you have to do as a responsible adult. And they gave him a call, said, hey, you've been selected to take the training finally. He goes, stands in the line, getting ready for it. Person behind him is a young black woman. And he goes, out of curiosity, when did you find out that you were eligible for the training? She said, Wednesday, 2 days prior. This is Friday. I mean, are you serious?
Yeah.
You have people that want to do this. As we said yesterday, the people that are running into the danger when everyone else has to get out, they're choosing to do this. And you're telling them, no, we don't want you. What is wrong with people? What is wrong with our system? I don't know.
Yeah, it's people. They're evil. This is a reoccurring theme through all the segments today, and I couldn't agree more. And I'm on the same wavelength. I've been saying the same thing. These people are just straight evil.
Well, I mean, I saw, I don't know, I think Tim mentioned it a little bit in one of the segments. I can't remember which one, because, again, reoccurring theme, mind you. Speaker Johnson is saying they're discussing putting conditions on this 100% unlimited aid to cover this, because California consistently mismanages its money. Even Joe Biden said, what was it, $24 billion went to help homelessness, and nobody knows where that money went. Nobody can say, this is what happened, here's how we allocated it, these were the programs that were created from it.
Yep.
That's $24 billion gone.
I agree. And it's a hard thing, right? Some of the hardest things in life are the most honest and come to Jesus moments that you'll experience. And I liken this whole situation to I'm creating an analogy, I'm improvising one. But basically, imagine you go to the park, Central Park in New York City, and you give $20 to a homeless guy. And then you sit down on the bench, and next thing you know, another homeless guy comes up, and you give him $20. And then like 5 other homeless people come up over the course of an hour, and you give them all $20. Then you go to your wallet, and you realize, man, I'm like losing all my money here. So the next homeless guy comes up, and you make a decision. You're not going to give him $20. And it's going to suck for that homeless guy that you didn't give him $20 while all his friends that live on the same tent city all got $20. And he's going to be upset about it. And you know what? Let him be upset. The reality is that you could have taken all that money that you gave away and put it to better use, creating a better situation for those people through outreach, through whatever, right? So with respect to funding, federal funding to all these natural disasters, it's not heartless. It may sound heartless and it might seem like a shitty take for me. I apologize if that's how you feel, but I promise you, I come from a much more genuine, heartfelt, empathetic point of view on this. Stop giving the money. It sucks. People lost a lot. Lives were lost. It's horrible. But they clearly have no inkling of wanting to make corrective action so it doesn't happen again, or so that it's not as severe again in the future. They want to avoid that conversation altogether. That's not how reality works. That is not how they create something more sustainable for the future. They need to start implementing serious agenda that builds up their reserves again, that maybe mitigates the fire by doing forest cleaning, giving out all these communities, mine included down in Southwest Florida, giving us a bunch of fucking money. It should be up to the state to have those funds and set those funds aside, first and foremost, in my opinion, and
for it, yeah,
and plan for it, right? Because that's what responsible leaders do. You live in a state like Florida, like we got hurricanes, so we should probably have a slush fund at a state level. That's like fuck the federal government. We have our own fund for our state for hurricane response, and that's exactly what DeSantis does. That's why our federal funding is so low in Florida.
And when you build back after major destruction like that, you look at ways to say, okay, this happens. How can we make it so there's not going to be this damage next time, and
right.
next time, and next time? Your construction methodology changes a little bit. But hey, to liken your analogy, do you watch Squid Games on Netflix?
I do, yeah. I have.
Have you watched season 2?
Most of it, like halfway.
Okay, so you'll get this one. The recruiter, he goes to the store, he picks up 100 dinner rolls. I don't know exactly what they are, but there's something that's widely available there, and 100 lottery tickets. He goes to a place where there's a lot of homeless people, and he offers them a choice: a scratch ticket or a meal. And every one of them chooses a scratch ticket. Really? And okay, that's their choice. And at the end of that scene, he basically destroys all that food. And they're like, why are you wasting this food? And his message is very clear. I am not the one wasting this. I offered every one of you the opportunity at that meal, and you chose the other option.
Yeah.
People need to learn to choose the right options. It's that simple.
They won't. And this goes back to what I've been saying for months back on the Discord. It's going to take real hardship for people to snap out of it. The woke mind virus, I think the cure for that is hardship. They need to stop being bailed out. They need to start being more grateful for all the technology and convenience that they have in their lives. And when we get to that point, when that point becomes a reality for people, I don't know about you, Chris, but I personally have had moments in my life that were so like earth-shattering to me, my ego, my way of life, that it set me on another path in life. I just it rewired my brain to maybe be more personally accountable, have more responsibility, and do all these things. And I'm sure a lot of people that are not woke radical leftists can resonate with that. I don't think you could get the same response from, if you manage to get a woke, radical leftist person to sit down and have that conversation with you, I don't think that they'd be able to identify it. And I think that resonates with people like Kamala Harris and Biden, who, when asked, what mistakes do you think you've made that you could have done better? Their response being, I don't know, right? I know my mistakes, right? I made a mistake today. I almost came home without buying tortillas for my girlfriend to have leftover tacos with. Yeah. Fuck, shit. I make mistakes all the time. Everyone makes mistakes, and it's the only way you learn from them and grow is by identifying them, acknowledging them, and coming to terms with it.
Well, you know a way that we can get people out of this woke mind virus. They can start changing their perception and coming to terms with what you just said. Pete Hegseth says he supports women in combat after Democrats press liberal women freak out over draft. Yes, we've talked about this. It is now time for this to happen. Pete Hegseth's confirmation hearings are going on right now.
Yeah.
And what does that mean, Michael? It
That
means
means
a lot of time with senators asking retarded questions, trying to trip him up.
Or just grandstanding, right? Like Tim says, it's grandstanding to get a clip that they can put in their next ad for their election cycle.
Yeah, where they talk for 5 minutes without actually asking a question of the person they're trying to get confirmed, or in their case, not confirmed. And it's just mind-blowing how that works, because they act like it's a gotcha moment and you don't even get the dude a chance to respond.
Right.
How is this where we're at as a country?
So this, I took a particular liking to Tim's segment here. And I agree with some of the things that he said. And as a veteran, I have my own opinions on this whole conversation. So I'd like to start by saying, yes, men should have more discipline in theater. Having been to Afghanistan myself, I can understand what it's like to be away from home for a year and, really start to like have that natural primal instinct start to kick in. And so, yes, there should be more discipline. But the reality and the fact of the matter is that we are all just human beings, primitive human beings at the end of the day. And we have natural instincts that will slowly take over, right? There are certain things naturally that occur to our bodies when we don't even want it to happen. Like, hypothermia, shivering, the hiccups, all these things. They're things that happen to keep you alive and you're not even consciously attempting it, right? Sexual arousal and the need for sex is just a natural thing that people go through. You need to have the fortitude and discipline to keep that primitive nature of yours at bay. Boobs are great, but they're not that great, and they're not worth a jail cell. Trust me. So yes, I agree with that. But that is then still a reality with respect to women being in the front lines. But the other reality is that we're not doing foxhole fighting anymore, right? We don't have. It wouldn't be 10 guys and a single lady in a foxhole for 5 days, hiding out in the cold, right? That's not how a warfare is anymore. Is it possible for like a special forces or a recon unit to be in that position? Sure. Should women be in those positions? No, 100% not. And it has nothing to do even with this particular subject. So I think Pete Hegseth did himself a disjustice by bringing up that as a reason. There are a plethora of other reasons that you can use to basically say women should not be in combat roles. Combat roles mean literally on the front lines, being shot at. When it's me and her and I go down because I got shot in both my legs or I stepped on an IED and I lost both my ankles. How is 120 pound? Because if she's going to pass the PT test and even be in that position, she ain't going to be 170 pounds like Tim discussed. How is she going to carry me to safety over a mile? She's not. It's just the reality, because it's not. I'm not 200 pounds. I am 200 pounds plus maybe 50 when you account for my rifle, my magazines, my vest, my flak, everything else that I'm wearing, my bag. Like it's a matter of life and death. It isn't about discrimination. It is about life and death and about being physically capable to go through that. The other aspect of it is the emotional aspect of it. Men do way better with building camaraderie and compartmentalizing all the trauma that they experience in war. Women, they don't. Women are far more emotional. They deal with emotion differently than men. This is just a fact of nature, you know?
Wait, are you saying men and women are different?
Oh, I know, it's crazy.
But yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. Guys trauma bond way better with each other. We have that outlet, and we're taught that at a young age. You know, if I'm meeting up with one of my friends, you know, here, there, at a bar, whatever, if in the first 5 seconds I don't insult him and he doesn't insult me back, we're both wondering what's wrong.
Right.
You know,
right.
That's just part of it. You know, I've talked to people, you know, I'm going to say they were 21, 22 years old. I've interacted with them. You know, they're part of, what is it, Gen Z or Gen Alpha? I don't remember which that is at this point, but it doesn't matter. And they hear that and they're like, what? Why would you greet your friend in such a way? Because that's what you do. You know, they can't fathom that because they were raised differently. And I don't know how or why that changed, but it was the weirdest thing for me to hear them say, what do you mean? I don't understand. And, you know, women see that and they're like mesmerized by it. How do guys not, you know, talk about these things? Because we don't. We make a joke and we move on.
That's right.
You know, I do want to point out my favorite part of this segment. I mean, Tim had a lot of good things to say, and you added quite a bit to it. My favorite part of this segment was actually when Tim looked up the average female weight.
Right.
And he's like, it's 120 and 170. What? You know, this had to be a shock for him because that reaction was completely unplanned. And you can tell when Tim's playing something up for the camera a little bit and when he's not. This was just completely, holy crap, what just happened? So I tended to like that.
Yeah, I mean, we have an epidemic in this country. That's for sure.
Well, here's the man that's going to fix that problem for us, Michael. Trump announces external revenue service to tax foreign entities and collect tariffs. I don't know about you, Michael, but I've been on Twitter watching some of those leftists out there who just hate everything Donald Trump says and does, and they try to overanalyze it. I've been enjoying going through there and seeing them lose their shit all day about this.
Yeah. This is great. This is absolutely great. Tariffs are they're one of those hard truths I was talking about. The hardship will be present at the start of massive tariffs like this, but the end result is going to be absolutely phenomenal for our country. And we would need an organization to kind of oversee that. I'm not anti. I want to preface, like, I'm not one of those, we got to abolish all the agencies. We got to get rid of them. They all are bad. Like, I'm not for that. Like, even the FBI, I think the FBI needs a complete restructure from the bottom up, but we shouldn't get rid of it because it still serves a purpose, right? I'm not against more agencies being brought into the government as long as the spending is not increased as a result. We need to take away from something to make this happen, much like SpaceX or Space Force and everything else. So I think this is necessary.
I suggest like for like. You know, you're bringing in the External Revenue Service and phasing out the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, but you're not actually giving those people the new job, because push comes to shove, they're going to get complacent and they're going to revert to their old ways and want to start taxing us again.
That's right.
You know? So we got to start fresh there.
Yeah,
that's my take on it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You know, honestly, I don't know if Donald Trump is serious with this or not. I really don't, and I'm not going to try to parse it out. But the level of concern people have, you know, truly believing that he is 100% serious in everything he says always, it is just mind-boggling to me, especially after 8 years of him being in this kind of role, right? You know, he's been well known for 35 years at this point. Donald Trump is a household name, and nobody paid attention to 90% of what he said anyway. They
Yeah.
didn't care. When he got into politics, that all changed, and they treat it like everything he says is the most serious statement they've ever heard him make. And like, what about him in this capacity has ever given you that impression? More often than not, he says something just to gauge your response. If he gets a reaction, he's going to say more of it. I don't know what he's going to say tomorrow now, but I'm sure it's going to be funny.
Right.
Do I want to see a new agency? No. Like you, I don't want to see new stuff. I don't want to see new spending. I actually agree. We don't want to just whole cloth get rid of everything, especially since those agencies serve a purpose at the moment. Now, if you want to take the ATF, the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, and combine them all into one organization and downsize it so multiple aspects of that one organization are doing different functions that others would have done, sure. You don't have to get rid of the FBI. You don't have to get rid of whatever one it makes sense to merge that into. But the spending is what needs to get under control. How resources are allocated, and we need to just do that across the board. You know, Donald Trump tried to do that in his last term with some of the like FDA and whatnot, eliminating positions. I don't think he went the right direction with it. I think he needs to go a little bit further, and he actually needs to enact these things.
Yeah.
We shall see, though.
We'll see. He's got a lot of stuff to accomplish in just that first day. So we'll see.
He's got a busy first day. But that's okay. Remember, dictator on day one, but only day one.
That's right.
Everyone seems to forget that second part of the sentence there. Only day one. Jimmy Kimmel cries, calls Trump MAGA scumbags for slamming DEI policy that worsened the LA wildfires. We went
Jimmy
into
Kimmel. Oh, he's a loser.
I think it's great that we talk about Adam Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel in the same 1 hour time slot here, Michael.
Yeah.
Because the two kind of go hand in hand. Now, Jimmy Kimmel has done a fair bit better with his career than Adam did, but Adam has always been very outspoken and said what's on his mind, regardless. Jimmy just cries on national TV. And he doesn't get what's going on. I don't think, and I know you don't think, that MAGA's bad for calling out these DEI policies. Again, we talked about it yesterday. After action review, what happened, how did it happen, and why did it happen? If we know that hiring what was that? There's a lesbian fire chief doing that video. I can't remember. Who was talking about, if I can't drag your husband out, he got himself into a bad situation. Remember that?
Yeah.
Well, honestly, yes, I will admit, I find myself in a bad situation from time to time, and it's entirely my own doing. But that doesn't mean that I don't recognize it as my own doing, and it certainly doesn't mean that I don't need help getting out of it.
Right.
And when you're talking about the firefighters, they kind of sign on to be the ones that are going to help you get out of that situation to the best of their ability, right?
Right.
So,
I mean, we pay for it.
Except in California.
Right. So this is DEI is bad. It is the antithesis of meritocracy, folks. It is the wrong direction, and will ultimately, if left to continue to grow, be literally the destruction of our society. We're talking, oh, suddenly all the labor industry is DEI hiring. So you got a bunch of unqualified people installing the electricity in your home. No, thank you. I don't want that. No one should want that. And like I said, sometimes, especially for these radical leftists, it's going to take genuine hardship for them to come to reality and understand the consequences of the ideology that they have been peddling. It is unfortunate. It is sad, but it's gonna take them suffering from the actual consequences of their ideology personally and not being bailed out for it. You bail them out, they learn nothing. Now, DEI, yeah, we need to stop it, but we don't stop it by complaining about how everything's fucking DEI. We stop it by identifying the positions of power that implement DEI in the first place and targeting that and taking those positions and getting elected to those positions, because DEI is a guideline that is pushed down. It's not the individual that was hired as DEI that's the problem. They're not the target. They're innocent in all of this. They're just looking for a job, right? But it's the hiring manager, or it's the police chief, or it's the head of the fire department in California that makes the determination that they no longer care about merit-based hiring practices and instead want to meet a quota. And there are very real consequences to that in a lot of different fields. Is there consequence to that in a McDonald's? Like if you're hiring out a McDonald's, you're like, I want only Asian people to work in my McDonald's. For DEI, like probably not going to have any real consequences to that, right? But when we're talking about police departments, when we're talking about fire departments, when we're talking about labor and jobs where it's not just you that has to be safe, but also your actions result in the safety of others. You're a roofer, right? Do you want some dainty, small dude at the base of your ladder to make sure it doesn't fall after you climb up 20 feet? Probably not, right? You're not going to feel as comfortable. And that's no fault to that person.
Do you want that guy carrying the 100-pound pack of shingles up that ladder to help you out?
I mean, if they can, then they can. Awesome, right? But it's not about whether or not they can or can't. Well, it is. It's about their qualifications. If a woman is physically capable of being in combat, then maybe, sure. My rule with respect to that Pete Hegseth segment is if a woman can pass the male physical standard and do all the things required, then whatever. That's what they want to do. So be it. That's equality right there, right? And the same should go for all of this stuff too. The DEI hiring, honestly, I'm not sure why there isn't even lawsuits on this, because a lot of it's based on race. They're intentionally not hiring white people and hiring other people instead to meet a quota. I feel like that's a violation of the Civil Rights Act, right? Because the Civil Rights Act doesn't specifically state any particular race. It just says race, and white is a race. Well, I mean, and then you can get into the ethnic backgrounds of each, white nation.
That's what they want you to do, though.
Right.
Have that struggle session. But hey,
right.
I just thought of something, Michael.
What's that?
How many DEI hires does it take to change a light bulb?
1.
Really? Did that light bulb consent to being changed? Did it want to get screwed into that socket? How do you know? Did you ask that light bulb's pronouns?
Well, yeah, you're right. Well, once I installed it, I spoke to it. And I said, turn on. Let there be light.
You turned it on? Did it consent to being turned on?
I don't know. It's a light bulb, Chris.
Starbucks ends open bathroom policy spurred by claims of racism. Woke is broke. Nature is healing. Yep. I don't know what more we can say to this. I mean, we haven't already said in the previous 45 minutes, Michael.
I know.
I mean, Starbucks several years ago opened up its bathrooms to anyone and everyone, regardless of being a customer. Now, I have never been inside of a Starbucks, never went through the drive-through, none of that. Not because I cared about this policy, but because I don't want to pay $9 for a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to imagine the people that are willing to spend $9 for a cup of coffee don't want to go into a bathroom and see a homeless guy basically giving himself a sponge bath.
Right.
They don't want to deal with that. Why would they? And this undoubtedly cost them massive amounts of business, because I can choose to go to Starbucks and deal with that, or I can go to a local coffee shop, pay a little bit less, and not have to worry about any of that.
Right. And, you know, the reoccurring theme throughout the last 46 minutes is basically they implemented this woke ideology. They did this thing, and they have come to terms with the reality that there are consequences to doing this. So in Starbucks favor, I suppose, they had a reaction policy to an incident that took place many years ago, and there was probably no hidden ulterior motive to why they made that decision, but it ended up resulting in exactly what you described. It resulted in more conflict in their locations and a drop in business. The same thing applies to all of these police departments and DA offices in big cities like New York City and California, where they say we are no longer prosecuting or even showing up to small theft below $900, right? What ends up happening after those policies are implemented, well, anyone that goes and steals something for $50 and doesn't get in trouble for it is emboldened. It is now normalized behavior for that person to continue to want more, to continue doing it. So yes, they're not prosecuting these people anymore, but the volume to which $50 gets stolen at a time is increased dramatically.
And that actually emboldens them to go for $100 next time, $200, right. $300. They'll find that limit and they'll be like, all right, this is where the cutoff is. Even if you didn't know that their policy was anything below $1,000, you would have systematically worked your way up to whatever you could get away with.
Right. So I've come to the conclusion that the people that make these policies, like the individuals at Starbucks that had to sit in a boardroom and have a serious conversation about this, right? Or politicians at local and state and even federal levels that make policies regarding crime and all these things, they're either stupid, like genuinely dumb, or they're intentionally doing it with the ulterior motive of increasing the degeneracy that exists within our society. And I really hope that the latter is not true and that they're just stupid, because I can live with them being stupid. It is what it is. We got stupid people all around us.
All right. Well, we got a couple minutes left, and I just got one thing from Pop Culture Crisis that I really, really wanted to touch on.
Let's do it.
Because this is something that's causing the leftists to literally lose their shit. Carrie Underwood, country singer, is performing at the Trump inauguration.
Gee, gas, Chris. I cannot believe it.
How dare she perform at the inauguration for a convicted felon, 34 felonies, rapist? No, he's not. He has never been found guilty of that in a court anywhere. But to the left, they do not care. And I have seen post after post on X of people saying, I will never support this person ever again because she dared accept a paycheck to have the honor of performing at the inauguration like that. Oh my God, the Village people too, Shane. You're kidding me. Look at this, Michael. The Village people are performing at the inauguration too. If that doesn't tell you anything about Donald Trump's policies when it comes to same-sex anything, nothing else will. I mean, this is the Village People, for God's sakes. I can't believe it. We need to cancel the Village People. We need to cancel Carrie Underwood. We just need to cancel the United States.
We do. we just cancel everything. Cancel all the things. Cell phones
Christmas too.
Yeah. So, and first and foremost, we got to cancel memes.
Well, no, not memes.
Shane.
Memes are life.
Okay. Cell phones.
Okay, I'm good with that.
I'm all for going to my original plan where everybody is like just like a silent EMP across everything, where you got no internet, no water, and no electricity, and good luck. Everybody, it's for 1 year. Make it happen. Survive, build a garden, get some chickens.
Can we negotiate for longer than a year?
I'm sorry?
Can we negotiate for longer than a year?
No, I think a year would be enough. It'd be enough for people to really set in some, genuine good quality habits, like waking up early, doing some hard work, doing all of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, it is that time. Give me some final thoughts.
As always, folks, practice gratitude. Genuinely practice gratitude. Don't just I'm grateful for things. Pick 5 good things, and then also hunt the good. Write 5 good things that happened throughout the day, whether it's for you, for someone else, or something you witnessed out in public. Write it down. And like today, a bunch of people stopped to let someone cross the road today. I wasn't particularly responsible for that, but everyone collectively was, and that person was able to safely cross a busy road to get to where they're going. So just identify 5 good things throughout the day, and then get fit. That's right.
Practice gratitude, get fit, eat healthy, and for God's sakes, guys, let's go fishing. We'll see you tomorrow. All right. Thank you for tuning in. That was a good episode. If you like it, go ahead and hit that like button, that subscribe button, even that notification bell, and you will get notified anytime I release more content. You can also follow me on X at RealChrisNoski. On Instagram, I've now got an account set up there, The Quiet Part Pod, and of course here on YouTube, The Quiet Part Pod. With that, I will see you guys next time. You have a good day.